friends, Tiffany here, and I am here to document my week 2 of my Project Life album. So this week was a bit slow as far as picture taking goes, and I think that's kind of how a lot of us are feeling right now, especially compared to years past. But that's okay. We still have stories that need told, so here we go. I am going to just plug in my week card. My camera roll is a bit of an absolute mess, so please disregard that. And then I'm going to write, or type rather, my dates for the week here. I will say that I am using Wilson products as I normally do for my Project Life album. And Sally does add the date to these cards, but I use them in a 4x6 slot, and it is a 3x4 card, so I just add the date, no big deal. So there you have it. Okay, I did pre-place some pictures and a layout for this to kind of figure out where I was headed, because I felt like my last video was a bit of a mess because I just didn't know where I was going with it. But that happens. I end up going and settling on the Stampin' Up! Design 6A. And I like the versatility of this one, the extra 3x4 slots instead of an extra 4x6. I am going to go ahead and use this image that I did for this photo. And what I did for this is the same technique that I did in week 1, where I placed 2 photos into a collage layout and exported it without any photos around it. I used a Design A, and here I'll just line up the center lines, and that's good for me. I am also going to add this photo of my sister. She is a labor and delivery nurse and got her vaccination this week, so that was exciting. Here we go, and I'll journal about that. And then I'm also going to place this card. I'm going to journal about my daughter. Okay, that's not exactly what I was looking for. My daughter had quite a bit of dance this week, playing catch up from being off for the break. So that's what that journaling will be. And then I really felt like I needed a larger photo for this. Here you go. And I really liked this black and white photo. If you want to see a video on how I edit my photos and the process for that, then feel free to comment below. I use presets in Lightroom most of the time. For my December by Days album this year, I used Color Story and kind of had a formula that I use there pretty frequently, but for the most part, I use Lightroom presets. And then sometimes on my pages, I just revert back to this plain white card that's in the Project Life app kit. I like that photo breaking up the white. And there we have it. Those are my photos placed for my left side of my week 2. So I'm going to go ahead and start my right side, and then I'll come back and show you all of the journaling placed and what this week ended up as. So let's go ahead and do week 2. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, the right side of week 2. Again, I start with the A, Design A. And I will say here that I have not looked at the photos for this side, so I'm not exactly sure how this is going to turn out. I know I want to use that one and that one. It's really quite funny. Our son's hockey team is a 14U team, so some of them are closer to being men than they are boys, and because of COVID, they have to change clothes in the parking lot. And my son hasn't figured out how to put his pants that he wears underneath all of his hockey gear on prior to leaving the house. So he was in his underwear in 25-degree weather. It was quite comical. So that's what I will journal about there. I think it's something we will likely laugh about later. Let's see. Again, I don't have a ton of photos for this week. So not exactly sure what I'm going to do. I will likely use that because I am in Ohio, and the Browns winning the wild card game was a huge feat for our state, especially given how the national championship game ended up. Okay, so there we go. I've placed my photos, and this is usually when I play around a little bit, determine the sizes. I do want to remember what my left side looks like. So you can see I have a white card, white space, and the black and white photo. So I'm going to go back in here. So this will be next to a white card, black and white photo. So I'll likely, this isn't the greatest quality of photo, so I'll likely change that a little bit. And that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pictures. I want to journal there, 6, journal there, 7. So I'll likely keep the same amount of slots as I had before, but I'm just looking for something a little different as far as the layout goes. And it's okay if you decide that you don't love something and you go back and fix it. I think that's one of the better things, biggest perks of the app is that you do have the flexibility to change something after you are done. We all have been there with paper products where it's just not possible. So, I think I'm actually going to make this whole page about my son's hockey. So we'll lose, oh, that cracks me up. So we'll lose this photo of the Browns. And what I'll do with the Browns photo is put it in my currently layout for the week, which if you have not seen on Instagram, I am doing another type of project for the year using a different system. Okay. So there we have that, and I do think that I still want to add white around that photo because it's just not great quality, but it's a nice moment, and I'm just going to go in and place that photo there. And as far as journaling goes, I'll likely just do another white card, especially if I'm doing my son's sports. I haven't found a minimalist hockey kit, so if any of you designers out there are looking for ideas, I would love a minimalist hockey or minimalist dance, baseball, lacrosse, all of the kids' sports, something beautiful and streamlined without chunky words and clip art and all of that. So if somebody's out there or you know of a kit like that, please comment below because I have been searching. But for this, what I'll do is I'll just type my journaling in that spot. And I don't love that there's so much color on this side and not very much on the other. And I'll show them to you side by side. If you ever want to see your photos side by side, what I do is go and use Design E. And then I'll put each layout. I guess I didn't save either one of those layouts. I will go into my library and I will export. I didn't save it because I'm not done with my journaling, but for the sake of seeing what they look like side by side, I'll go ahead and export and then go back to Create, go to Design E, and then I will import those photos so you can see what they would look like. I actually don't, I mean, it's really heavy on the right side because of that large photo, but that's kind of how it works out sometimes. There's, for me, I am not a designer, and I think I said that in my last video, but I'm not a designer. There are some things that I find more pleasing to the eye than others, but at the end of the day, I want to get my stories told in a book. And we are halfway through week 3, and I could mess with this a bit more, and it would end up taking a lot of time, and I still may not be completely happy with it. So for me, it's a lot more important to get the stories told and written than having a layout that I absolutely love every week. It's a huge perk to this type of documenting that we do get to turn the page and have a clean canvas every single week. And I really enjoy that. There are some weeks that I like a lot more than others, and that's perfectly okay in my book. Now, you get to write your own book, so if it's not okay in your book, then you certainly have the opportunity to spend more time on a layout to make sure that it's perfect for what you like. But with all that being said, this is one that probably won't be one of my favorites, but is done, and I think the photo of my son getting dressed in the parking lot is one that we will think is comical in years to come, and definitely something that I wanted to highlight. So we're just going to leave it as is. I'm going to add my journaling, and I'll come back and show you the finished product. Okay, so I wanted to add this because it really changed my thoughts on this layout. As I just mentioned, I didn't particularly love how heavy the right side of this page was in comparison to the left page in the final spread. But Yvonne in the Simply Project Life Facebook group, if you are not part of that group, I highly suggest you go there. There's so many wonderful people sharing their tips and tricks and pages and so much inspiration. So if you're not part of that page, I highly recommend you go and be added to that group. But she created a font to add a frame onto your pictures. So the font, and I'll input an image of what the different images and frames that are available in the font are. But for this 6x12 photo, there's nothing in the Project Life app that allows me to do that. And it's difficult to just use the Project Life app and add a border around a 6x12 using the technique that I normally use. So I was stuck with just leaving it the way it was if I wanted to just use the app, which is what I'm trying to do for these pages. So I downloaded her font. If you're not sure how to download a font into your iOS device, I'm not familiar with Android, I apologize, but into an iOS font, if you just click on it, the iOS interface does everything for you. When it asks you to save it, make sure you save it to the Project Life app. And then when I go up here as I'm going to write, and I believe what I want to use here is the letter U. So if I make this bigger, it's the letter U, but magic is about to happen. When I go over, all the way over to this font and change it, there's a frame there. And I can just make it as large as I would like. There's a little bit of a, because of the 6x12 size and it going off your page, you just have to mess with it a little bit. I could mess with it a little more and get it a little closer to perfect, but you definitely get the idea. So then when I back out of it, that extra white space makes this side of my layout just not quite as heavy. So I'm super excited about that font. When I click out of this, I will show you. I have it saved here. There you have my final layout with the border around the image. And it really, really makes a difference to have that additional white space around that photo. So I hope that you are up to date and current with your Project Life album. This is the end of week 2. It's actually Sunday of week 3 for me. So I am going to get started on my week 3, and I hope you all are having a great January. Be back soon.